Welcome to Shared Insights, the podcast from BA Insight. My name is Pete Wright, and it's Old Home Week this week. We've got two returning guests here to share some of the things they are most excited about as we crest the wave into the second half of 2018 in the world of search. BA Insight CTO and Chief Customer Officer Sean Coleman is here. Hello, Sean.
Hi, Pete. Glad to be back.
Excellent, sir. And chair of the BA Insight Advisory Board, and known around here as the voice of BA Insight, it's Jeff Freed. Hi, Jeff.
Hello there, Pete and Sean. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, sir. We've got a lot happening going right now in the first half of 2018, and we haven't done a fair check-in on the things you are most excited about, the trends you've seen in and around search at conferences, in the work that you are doing in search. So we're going to talk about that today. Sean, I'll kick it to you. Where was this? Where did this come from, and what are some of the highlights for you that are coming in 2018 that you're very excited about working with?
Yeah, no, this is a great topic, and I'm sure Jeff's chomping on the bit to add some stuff in here. But we've had a lot of good conversations this year in a couple of different places that we've gone. But man, the one thing, and I guess I'm probably beating a dead horse when I say that it's kind of AI driven has been the key word that I've just heard. Right. But AI is it hype? Is it real? Is it what? Right. People are asking those questions. And so what we've started digging into, and I think what's got me most excited is I'm actually starting to see real use cases for AI. Right. So instead of someone just saying, hey, our platform's AI driven, and you go, well, in what way? Right. And they're kind of like, well, there's algorithms in the background. Well, now we're seeing we're seeing actual AI integrations that bring stuff. And I'll give an example, right? Image and video tagging, right? Images and video from a content perspective for enterprises have been these kind of lock boxes of information. I know I have them, and I got a bunch of them, right? Videos and images, but I don't really know what they're about unless someone named them really well. But most of them are named Video 1 or DSC 295 JPEG, right? Because your camera took it. So we've actually integrated with a couple of different cognitive platforms, Microsoft and Google, and are able to take those images and videos and pass them off to those services. And then it feeds back what the image is about or what the video is about. I mean, a couple funny examples. We took a video of South Park, right, and gave it to Google, and Google gave us back Eric Cartman, which is amazing that it figured that out. But another one where there's a guy riding a bike and he falls over, and you pass it to Google, and Google says bike, person riding bike accident, right? So wow. The ability to crack into video content, image content, and really figure out what it's about, that's kind of a game changer for search in that you've unlocked all this content that you had traditionally kind of locked up. So, super excited about that.
Yeah, I'll echo that, Sean. We both see that happening at BA Insight, especially since we added those capabilities in through this integration, but they're increasingly real. Everything from, I'm spending these days a lot of time in healthcare, and there's video systems that look at people walking and use gait analysis to tell whether they've had a stroke. So I'm expecting to see a lot of this sort of bike accident, I fell out of bed, for sort of home health care, and search is a key role in that because there's all these other signals that you need to accommodate in this pattern matching way. It doesn't come from one source. It comes from what's in the video feed, what's happening in the context, and things from several different places. So AI is still overhyped, but who was I talking to yesterday who said, well, right now, 30 out of 1,000 applications are actually using some kind of AI. I expect in 5 years, there'll be only 30 out of 1,000 that are not.
I think that's right. I think that's a great stat, right? I mean, and the more that we look into it, and the more that I'm sure you see this, Jeff, is that the kind of the growth of these frameworks, right? So Google and Microsoft offering these as platforms to integrate in, right? So instead of a development team saying, hey, we want to integrate AI, so we have to go and figure out how to build these algorithms and how to feed it data and this stuff, then what these large organizations have done is kind of consumerize that capability. So you've got all of the power behind them. And so I think that's what's going to facilitate that growth you're talking about. to go from 30 apps really doing it to the other 30 that aren't, kind of being left out in the dust. And I think that speaks a lot to. It's funny, I was working on a blog the other day, and hopefully this will come out pretty soon, but are we in this AI revolution area, right? That we're just kind of on the precipice of it really kind of hitting the kind of the high speed, high velocity that 30 years from now, do you come back and look at this and compare it to the Industrial Revolution, right? And how much did humanity gain over that? It's an exciting time, and it'll be interesting to see how history paints it. Are we in the start of it, and it's going to get really, really great, or is it going to be kind of that was AI and it wasn't as much as it was heft up to be? I think I'm leaning a little bit more to the former than the latter, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I'm hoping it gets that the hype dies out a little bit, because I do think we'll have a bit of a crash. The superpower, we've talked on this blog before about the superpower arms race in cognitive computing, and that's absolutely what we're seeing from what you talked about, Sean. That not just the video and audio things, but also bots are so prevalent that they're no longer weird, and they're no longer a curiosity. Now they've passed the Turing test. The whole Google I/O, or the Google calls where you can't tell it's not a person.
Yeah, this is the Google Duplex demo that's been racing around the internet, in which Sundar Pichai gets up and says, "Hey, you're going to listen to an actual call of Google Duplex. Calling your Google Assistant is going to call a store and or in the first case was a hair salon and make an appointment, in which they had to juggle schedules with the receptionist at the salon, and the whole time what you're hearing is this next gen Google Assistant trying to navigate your schedule on your behalf without revealing that it is in fact a bot doing the work."
Well, actually, it's hilarious.
I have to reveal that I'm a bot right now.
We replaced Jeff with the bot. No one can tell. We fed all of his information in the computer. No, it's actually a funny story. I had a very similar. So someone called me and they were asking me a bunch of questions, and they were so on script that I said, "Are you a real person?" Because they were dead on, and they were. It turned out that they were a real person. But it's funny that it went both ways. I said this has to be a recording, because
right.
they were so on script that they never broke. But eventually it did. I said, "Are you actually a real person?" And she goes, "Oh yes, I'm a real person." Now maybe it was still a bot.
Exactly.
Now I don't
Wouldn't
know.
a bot say that, Sean?
Right. A bot would be like, "I am not a bot."
Complete rube in this case, and this is your business.
Right.
Well, it gets to the next level here of just being able to improve search by using these bots. And it sounds like that's what Google's already doing, where you start hearing reports of businesses that are receiving calls, asking questions about, hours and location and traffic and that sort of stuff about businesses, and that it turns out that is already a Google bot for Google Maps. You are talking to Google Maps, and Maps is just trying to improve its data set. There's an interesting example of sort of the human machine interaction to ultimately improve search for everybody. Yeah,
with a lot of kind of creepy overtones to it, for sure. but it goes the other way. I mean, almost all of these bots are search-driven under the hood, because to access the variety of information you need to actually be conversational, it's fuzzy matching.
Mm-hmm.
And often, again, in sort of the hospital cases, I'm starting to see this in home health care, that people are calling often to make appointments, often to check things, and that's a pretty pedestrian case. But an FAQ, I have a rash. What do I do? That's not the kind of thing I'd want to really be speaking to a bot about, but it's apparently a very popular service.
Well, especially when you bring back in the image video tagging, that sort of a thing. If you take a picture of your rash and suddenly the bot can take a stab at what your rash is, and that's a little bit of a nerve-wracking interaction with the healthcare industry.
kind of what Watson's doing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they have that, you feed it all this information and it's able to fill that out. But I mean, what we were talking about there really kind of got me thinking, so Google Maps is calling people to build up its metadata, right? The more data it has, the better it's able to do its job. And that's, gosh, we've been beating that drum on search for
Yeah.
years, right, Jeff? And think about this, right? So not a bot in search that's going to help a user find what he's looking for, but a bot that's going to reach out to the people that are contributing content and ask them a couple of questions. So when we talk about, hey, you need metadata, we've got our auto classifier that generates metadata. Man, a bot interface on that after someone uploads a document says, hey, Jeff, that document, we took a look and we thought it was about rashes. Is it? Which type of rash is it about? And you're like, oh, it's about this one, right? And you're conversationally giving metadata that now makes it much more accurate for people to search and find it. That's I got to think we're not too far away from that.
I think you're right. And I just sent you a picture of my rash, Sean.
I deleted it.
Tagging.
My email bot said you don't want to look at this.
And boy, it was right.
Bots are getting in the way of other bots. How much of this is sort of requires an exponential growth in data to process? I was thinking about it because 2 weeks ago I turned on my Apple Watch as part of the Stanford Heart Experiment. The cardiac research that they're doing. There's a little app that runs on my watch, and it takes samples of my heart rate, resting and exercising throughout the day and night, and uploads it to Stanford as a part of this research they're doing. It started, my understanding is it started with 5 or 10,000 participants in the study, and then they developed the app and went up to like 500,000 participants, and they're already seeing benefits. And I just, they sent me an email and said, hey, if you just know if we notice anything irregular about your heart, now that you're a part of the system, now that we have so much data and we're starting to understand patterns of irregularities, we're going to connect you via FaceTime to a physician to give you further information and tell you where to go immediately once we see that from you. So they're watching my heart. I have to imagine that size data set is something that is sort of a harbinger of things to come in helping search get better. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. I mean, we've been talking a lot about, and one of the things that we have to reconcile as a business, some business to business rather than like business to consumer, right? So, what access and organizations, when they think about how effective can I be at AI based analytics, and what you're talking about is the predictive and suggestive side of AI, which is what can I predict from the data set, and then what from that can I suggest to someone. And we think about search, suggestions, and other people have looked for this, the things that you kind of see on Amazon, right? So in a consumer world, and the exact example you have there, I got 500,000 people, 500,000 people that are sending the data, but in a company, I've only got 5, 10, 15,000 people that are searching. So we do get this precipice of, do we have enough data to feed the AI engine to really make it valuable, right? So how do you overcome that? I mean, Microsoft overcomes it. The Graph API in O365 is based on likely the collective patterns of everyone that uses O365, right? So those massive data sets. So that's one of the ones that I've been thinking a lot about. I'm interested, Jeff, in your take on this. What do you think from a corporate perspective? Are we going to get the data sets that we need to drive this, or are we going to have to leverage patterns that people are finding in larger data sets?
I think this is part of what's behind search as a service getting more mature. Because in order to do this kind of finesse and this kind of machine learning, you need millions of examples. And if you're going to personalize down, the smaller the population, the less data you have. So even in a large organization, you don't really have enough data to do a lot of learning. There's a new book out around learning to rank, and there was just a search conference in North Carolina, and that was only about this subject, about search ranking and applying machine learning to it, which is intuitively something that you want, and which many search vendors have been touting just with pure hype. But if you have a search service like Google does, or like Azure Search or Elastic Cloud, if people are willing to share their data, you can really learn from it. And the other trend, which sort of comes back to your heart rate monitor that I see a lot, is uh, the for me, long-awaited convergence of structured and unstructured data in these kind of information-seeking systems. That the heart rate example is all structured. It's numerical. You know the provenance. You know if it came from a Fitbit or not. A lot of enterprise search tends to be very unstructured, and then you spend a lot of either smart machines or laborious people creating metadata. Um, I think we'll see a lot more mix, and I'm already seeing examples of that, where there really is structured, relatively high trust data that you can mix with this unstructured data and use to good effect.
That's great. That's a great point. I mean, I think that is one of the things that from the search industry that things that have us excited, or me excited specifically, right? The Azure Search, Elastic Cloud, some of these others, that are growing up this service based approach, which is gone are the times when I have to build a huge search farm and manage an index and put a bunch of people behind it. I can spin up this service, and in doing that, I get all the benefits that you would expect from the cloud. But the stuff you're speaking to there, Jeff, which is there's patterns and learning that can now happen because we're taking part of this aggregate data set. And it doesn't mean that you have to kind of expose your back end data, right? You expose kind of entity concepts and you expose user behavior and things like that. And can value be brought of the fact that there's now a collective intelligence that's out there working on this? And I think some of the things that we're hearing out of the Azure Search world, even Bing for Business, and Jeff, I know you've worked with that group, and I've started working with them, that they're merging that Bing consumer capability with that workplace capability, and they're starting to layer in some AI and some suggestion, and so they have this kind of best of both worlds where they've got that pattern behavior that they're learning from consumers, and they've got this business data now, and they can make some kind of connections between the two and deliver a better experience. And so I think we're going to see more and more of that.
Yeah, and certainly Bing for Business that's their play, is they're trying to take the intelligence that they get from Bing, which has enormous amounts of data, because all of these algorithms are just like speech recognition. This web search is he with the most data wins, and applying it in a business context. And the good thing is exactly what you said. You can learn from these patterns. You have enough data to learn from. The bad thing is that it's generic. What you're learning is generic, and you're often learning consumery things that don't apply in the context of a business. So I'm very interested to see how that balance plays out. Most enterprises need more control and more tailoring and more domain specificity than you'll get from that kind of pooling of consumer data. And you see that with the image tagging. The out-of-the-box image tagging stuff is great on a lot of consumer kind of areas of puppies on green lawns, but you still need to put work into it if you're trying to recognize what brand of electrical generator is that. You have to train it on your own data.
It's actually funny, doing some of the AI research that we're doing and looking for, who are some integration partners out there. I don't know if you've looked into this, but came across some actually pretty compelling capabilities out of Facebook, right? So Facebook has their Facebook for Business capabilities. They're starting to go up, kind of toe to toe with Microsoft Teams, and so others are gaining a little bit of traction. But they've been able to do some pretty cool AI stuff, because I'd venture to say Facebook probably has access to the pattern, a pattern of human behavior and access to that data that no one else has, right? So, yeah, they basically have a corner of the market on, what do people do and how do they act and how do they interact with each other. they were able to use that to kind of power messenger bots and put the messenger bots into their workplace integrations so that they can build kind of quick and dirty integrations. Something interesting, we were talking about the bots, but the other thing that we're able to do is their image recognition, and it was genius, right? So when they were training their image recognition capabilities, they incorporated in hashtags. So not only did they have the image, they had the hashtags that people put on it, hashtag party, hashtag this, hashtag kitten, just what you were talking about. And something like 85% accuracy in their AI when they were done with training it, which when you have billions of users and billions of images to lead in there, you can get that kind of accuracy. But my hope is that eventually there's this tipping point and they kind of crack the nut that, okay, we've got it to the point where the training now is inherent and it's able to recognize all this stuff, and then businesses can really start gaining traction with it. So I was interested to see, and I think that Facebook is starting to pop up in some of these other areas from a business perspective, and we're going to start seeing their name a little bit more in some of these areas.
Yeah, I see more of that for the Facebook business, where you as a business are advertising and involved with Facebook, than Workplace by Facebook. And I know we've had the a couple of folks on this podcast that talked about where Workplace by Facebook is. That's the sleeper, and I think that is what you're talking about, Sean. Is that's
Right.
going to get a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
It will be interesting to see, but yeah, that's what I was interested in. Yeah.
All right, so these are the things you're working on. What's keeping you up at night, guys? What are the challenges that you're facing here in 2018 that you that has you questioning the direction of search beyond the hype cycle?
Well, I have this perennial problem for years that what keeps me up is this under-awareness and under-investment in search, because this deployment of search can be really good. At BA Insight, we see lots of good examples, and we have all of this sophisticated, really cool stuff that we have just been talking about. But the average state of deployments in business still sucks. And the thing that keeps me up at night is really this impatience and to some extent frustration that people's awareness that they really can do much better is still growing too slowly.
Yeah, I like that one. I guess what keeps me up at night, or what I've been really thinking a lot about recently, is call it the magic bullet syndrome or the easy button syndrome, where it goes talk back to a little bit about the danger of AI hype is the concept or the idea that people go, well, just make it AI driven and then it'll be great, or we'll just press this button and it'll be awesome. And so making sure that people understand how to kind of navigate that world and understand that from a marketing perspective, everyone's going to talk about their AI capabilities. We do it, right? We've got it all over the place. We're talking about it here. We've got blogs, but I want to make sure that the market's educated to dig into that and say, okay, you said AI, but what do you mean? Where are you using it? How are you driving your recommendations, right? Because, the easy answer to that is proprietary algorithm, right? Which is okay. I'm not asking you to tell me how you cook the meal, but I'm asking you to explain to me the concepts that you put behind it. So I want to make sure that people understand, and I'm worried that they'll get caught up in this. Do you have AI? And the answer is yes or no. Well, that's not really the answer. The answer is, how do you leverage it? How have you partnered and how have you integrated that with that? And then how are you going to kind of protect someone from the way that the market's going to change? Because it's changing fast and people are integrating, and the leader today may not be the leader tomorrow. So what type of flexibility do you have to allow that? So I think what worries me is that not enough questions are asked, not enough deep understanding is there, and you go into these implementations thinking that it's AI driven, so it's going to be great, and it can be great, and we've seen it be great, but it takes some of that understanding of tactically where are we going to leverage it, and are we leveraging it in the right way, and are we kind of talking about it and communicating about it on the right ways. I think I worry a little bit about that.
Yeah, it still takes work, and you still have to be smart about the way you approach things, especially because things are changing so fast.
Yeah.
And I think, Sean, you've done a really good job in terms of making sure in customer projects that people don't get backed into a corner by technology changing.
Right.
And that's sort of been the philosophy of BA Insight all along. But it takes both the technology and the people change management kind of stuff to make that work.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about the other day that in one of the presentations that we've done is that, the kind of the cyclical nature of projects, right? Where you kind of started out with this best of breed approach because no one company could do what you need, and that was that, but they didn't integrate really well. So we called it like bad best of breed. And then someone said, well, let's just all make it one system. So everybody brought it together and said, well, we can control everything. And that was no best of breed. And so then you're relying on one company to try to innovate. And we're kind of turning that corner now where we're seeing that we can finally get great best of breed because the cloud integration frameworks, the APIs, the things that people have built are finally of the point where, yes, let's build it so all of these capabilities can take advantage of each other. And so I can start here. I can use this bot framework. I can use this search engine, and that can get me so far. And then I decide I need this other search engine to fit this other need. Let me snap that one in, and let me switch my bot out to this other one because they're making some great advances. And it's that kind of flexibility that I think is going to allow people to determine that, these search projects aren't spend 2 years building it, use it for 3 years and replace it. They're build it quickly, and then you can continue to interchange your pieces. It's like a robot, right? Keep making the robot better. You got a better arm, replace it, snap a new one on there. I think that's what I want to see people think about these search applications as, kits that we've put together with the best capabilities that we've got. And when a new capability comes along, snap one out, snap one in, and just make it better.
So, Pete, what keeps you up at night? You haven't shared that with us. Is it whether whether you can snap a new arm on or not?
No. It's definitely why hasn't Google called me with its robot yet? This is, it's bringing my robot overlord fantasy to life. Jeff, I thought you would have known that by now about me.
Yes.
This is definitely this worked for Voltron. Snapping pieces in and out. It worked for them. It should work for the rest of us. But that does sound like something that's been a dream for a long time, and yet sadly not a reality for so many businesses. And sounds like that's something that's that could be very exciting.
And I think halfway through 2018, seeing that be real, I like the way Sean put it, that the pendulum swang way over and back. But it's back in a world that is much more modular. And you just need to have something that really brings the pieces together in a pluggable way.
Well, I love the way you put that because the world, it seems like we're in a place where, certainly from a development perspective, and maybe I should pose this more as a question, like we're in a place where there is decreasing platform anxiety or platform, antagonism, and more of a willingness to explore modularly, and that seems like that's a very exciting and opportunistic place to be.
Yeah, and I think part of it's that we have this arms race and we have multiple vendors, multiple superpowers coming out with stuff like crazy. And if you have tied your horse 100% to any one of them, you can feel how you've left, how you're losing out.
Yep. And I'm sure you said this before. I think the most exciting part about that AI arms race is that the arms race is right now is really for the developers, right? They're winning the hearts and minds of the developers. They're not starting with the business, right? So, and good or bad, right? So we've all been in projects where the business people, and I'm a business person, went and said, and they bought something. They said, yeah, I bought this. And it's supposed to do this. Here, guys, make it go do that, right? And the developer's like, okay, great. But the AI arms race is at the developer level. And those, these are the guys that are going to have to build this. And so the fact that that's where the battle is happening is exciting to me, because what's going to win in that is what's going to be really great at all the stuff we're talking about, being modular, easy to implement, has a lot of data behind it, right? And so it's exciting to see that battleground is with the geeks, right?
Yeah. No, it was a very, very funny. We just have finished and I remember blogging about this last year, that Google and Microsoft have synchronous shows, the Google Next, which I'll be going to, and Microsoft Ignite, which I also will be going to. They're pretty close to each other, and Google I/O and Microsoft Build are, back-to-back weeks. So it's a very clear demonstration of sort of this arms race. And they talk about almost exactly the same thing. When Amazon comes up with a new, well, this was a great example. Amazon came up with an Elasticsearch-based search on Amazon, and then so did Google, and then so did Microsoft. It's very much an arms race.
And I guess in a few years, for any of you Westworld fans out there, you'll be able to send your host replica of you to one, and you can go to the other. So you'll be able to attend.
No spoilers,
both, right? So just in a couple of years. Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, I've seen how that ended last season. I haven't started this season, but it doesn't go well.
Right.
This is not aspirational. Well, this is, in spite of all Westworld references, there is a lot of opportunity, it sounds like, here. And, hail to the geeks. Good luck, everybody. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. Particularly, thank you, Sean Coleman and Jeff Fried, for joining this show platform once again. It's great to hear your voices.
Thanks to both of you.
And I'm glad that you enjoyed talking to my bot.
It is the best bot we've spoken to yet.
So far. Yeah, you got to watch the demo. You'll get that joke. I promise. Thank you, everybody. On behalf of Jeff and Sean, I'm Pete Wright. We'll catch you next time right here on Shared Insights, the podcast from BA Insight.